Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here on purpose. What you're about to hear is not just information, it's confirmation. Your spirit has been sensing something. You've been feeling like you're on the edge of something major. Yet you've also been wondering why you've felt hidden, unseen, or overlooked. Let me tell you, you were never forgotten. You were reserved. God was preparing a table, and He didn't want you to arrive too early. This word is going to make things clear. It will explain why the wait was long, why the silence was heavy, and why the isolation was necessary. Let's break it down in 7 prophetic chapters. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content. It's a divine confirmation meant for the chosen ones who've been hidden, prepared, and are now being called forward. If your spirit feels this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random, it's a prophetic code, a signal to heaven and the universe that you're aligned with God's timing, positioned for purpose, and ready to sit at the table that's finally been set. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message. Only those who've endured the hiding, survived the silence, and stayed faithful in the dark. And if that's you, you're about to receive clarity, divine insight, and spiritual confirmation that this is your moment. This isn't something you listen to once and move on. This is a living word, layered with revelation, filled with instruction, and flowing with favor. Rewatch it whenever your spirit calls for it, because with every listen, another layer of your assignment will come into focus, and another door will begin to unlock. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You were hidden, but never forgotten. Chosen one, let this settle in your spirit. You were hidden, not rejected. There's a divine distinction. When man leaves you out, it can feel like abandonment. But when God hides you, it's preservation. It's protection with purpose. You weren't invisible because you lacked light. You were concealed because your light was too rare to be mishandled. God knew what was on your life. He saw the oil, the calling, the weight of what you were born to carry. And He said, "Not yet." Not because you weren't ready in heart, but because the environment wasn't ready to receive you. God didn't want you to be devoured by envy, used by opportunists, or misunderstood by those who didn't carry discernment. So He covered you. He tucked you away like a precious treasure. While others were being celebrated prematurely, you were being cultivated privately. You were in rooms where no one acknowledged your presence, yet heaven was taking notes. You were passed over for positions, platforms, and praise, yet God was silently promoting your spirit. You weren't called on because your calling was too holy to be treated casually. While others were chasing visibility, you were learning obedience. While others were networking for attention, you were kneeling for direction. Understand this: when God hides a chosen one, it is never random. He hides His greatest weapons until the warfare calls for their release. You weren't ignored, you were being guarded. You weren't forgotten, you were being forged. God placed a stillness over your steps so you wouldn't run into rooms that didn't carry your future. He made you unrecognizable to people who would have only drained you, delayed you, or discouraged what He was building in you. If you had been seen too early, they would have tried to mold you into something small enough for their comfort. They would have tried to rename what heaven had already spoken. They would have mishandled your purpose because they didn't understand your process. So God said, "Stay hidden. Let me shape you in silence. Let me build you without noise. Let me prepare you in peace." You were never on pause. You were on purposeful hold. Heaven had you on reserve, while the table was being arranged. And when God sets a table, it's not just about placing you at it. It's about making sure every detail is in divine alignment. The right doors, the right people, the right season, the right version of you. And when that table is finally ready, nothing can stop what's been ordained. Not their doubt, not their disbelief, not even your past. So if you've ever wondered why your name wasn't called, why your efforts were overlooked, or why you felt hidden in every room you entered, know this: you weren't forgotten. You were reserved. You were preserved. You were set apart for such a time as this. God didn't hide you to hurt you. He hid you to launch you when the room was finally ready to hold what you carry. And now, the veil is lifting. The table is set, and heaven is calling your name. Chapter 2. The table is not just opportunity, it's destiny. Chosen one, when God speaks about preparing a table for you, He's not just referring to a seat at some earthly event or a temporary breakthrough. This table represents asterisk destiny alignment. It's not just about promotion, it's about positioning. It's not just about visibility, it's about divine purpose finally meeting divine timing. This table is where your preparation meets its purpose. It's where the silent years of pruning, the tears cried in the dark, the sacrifices made without recognition, all come into focus. God doesn't prepare tables just to feed egos. He prepares tables to fulfill assignments. This table is sacred. It is spiritual. It carries generational impact. It's not just about your career, finances, or elevation. It's about what God wants to do through you, not just for you. This table includes divine partnerships, people who are not just impressed by your gift, but connected to your mission. It includes healing, not just for you, but for those you'll be sent to. It includes recompense, repayment for every unjust season, every betrayal, every no that crushed you but couldn't cancel you. It includes justice, a holy reversal of what the enemy tried to do to silence your voice or sabotage your journey. It includes clarity, spiritual insight that replaces the confusion you've battled for years. And it includes influence, not to make you famous, but to make God's name known through your life. But a table like this can't be rushed. It must be set carefully. Every chair at this table matters. Every connection must be ordained. Every open door must serve God's plan, not your preference. And just as important, every wrong person must be removed. God will not allow you to step into your next with those who can't handle the weight of your why. Some were only meant to walk with you in the wilderness, not sit with you in the promise. Some had to fall away, not because they were evil, but because they were not equipped to grow with what God is birthing in and through you. Understand this: God is not sloppy with destiny. He doesn't do almost. He doesn't do kind of right. He is precise. He waits until everything is in divine alignment, not just externally, but internally. Until your heart is healed, until your spirit is matured, until your motives are purified, until your mind is renewed enough to handle the weight of influence without becoming bound by it. That's why it seemed like the table was taking forever to appear, because it wasn't just about setting the table, it was about readying the vessel. You. God doesn't want you sitting at the table, exhausted, insecure, or desperate for validation. He wants you seated in peace, in clarity, and in full authority, knowing that you didn't have to force your way in, knowing that you didn't have to beg or perform. You arrived by obedience, and the table recognized your anointing before anyone clapped for it. So no, this isn't just opportunity. This is destiny in motion. This is a moment heaven orchestrated long before people even knew your name. And when God finally says, "Come forward," it won't just be your season, it will be the beginning of your impact. Because this table isn't the end goal, it's the launch point. And God didn't just set it for you, He set it through you, so that others might eat from the overflow of your obedience. Chapter 3. The waiting room was your wilderness. Chosen one, you've asked the question in tears. Why is it taking so long? The answer: because the waiting wasn't a delay, it was development. Your wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God loved you too much to let you walk into the promise unprepared, too much to release you into a room your character couldn't yet carry. So He enrolled you in the wilderness, a spiritual classroom where the curriculum wasn't always explained, but the outcome was always holy. In the wilderness, you learned how to hear God's voice, not in the noise, but in the stillness. You learned how to sit with silence, not as a curse, but as a gift. You had to face yourself. All the layers that weren't really you, the fear, the pride, the insecurity, began to fall away. The waiting stripped away your need for applause and replaced it with a hunger for God's approval. It redefined your worth, not by what you do, but by who you are in Him. This season, though lonely, was deeply sacred. It was there you learned how to worship without a crowd, how to pray without a platform, how to stand without applause. The hidden years were holy years. The wilderness was where God detoxed your soul. From the lies you believed, the traumas you buried, the cycles you repeated. And slowly, over time, He began to rebuild you. He sharpened your discernment. He matured your emotions. He taught you how to recognize divine timing and sense spiritual assignments. While others were rushing, you were rooting. Your roots were going deep into the soil of truth, faith, and obedience. You were becoming unshakable. And here's the powerful part. What you gained in the wilderness can't be bought, borrowed, or stolen. It can't be duplicated or imitated. It's yours. Because it was forged in the fire of your surrender. It was shaped in silence and sealed in solitude. You are not walking into your next season empty-handed. No, you're arriving equipped. Equipped with wisdom most people overlook. Equipped with a heart that has been humbled and healed. Equipped with spiritual authority that doesn't have to announce itself. You're not just stepping into rooms. You're stepping in as a tested vessel, one that has been refined, not just revealed. So don't resent the waiting. Don't curse the wilderness. It was your place of becoming. It was the stretch before the elevation, the breaking before the blessing. And now that the table is being set, you can sit with clarity, confidence, and peace, because you know what it cost you to get here. And more importantly, you know who brought you through it. Chapter 4. The ones who overlooked you will witness you. Chosen one, there's a reason God didn't elevate you in secret. He could have, but He didn't. Because part of your divine assignment includes witnesses, not for your pride, but for God's glory. He said it clearly in Psalm 23. I will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. That wasn't poetic language. That was a prophetic promise. God wanted the same people who misjudged you, who mocked you, who minimized you, to see what He always saw in you. Not for you to gloat, but for them to grow. Not for you to flex, but for them to witness the evidence of what happens when heaven endorses someone the world ignored. You see, when people overlooked you, they weren't just dismissing you. They were underestimating what God was doing in you. They saw the surface. God saw the substance. They saw your struggle. God saw your surrender. They saw who you were, but God was preparing who you were becoming. The one they called too quiet, too soft, too spiritual, not enough, is now walking in divine boldness and authority. Not because you fought for recognition, but because you endured the process. You stayed faithful when it would have been easier to become bitter. You stayed pure when you had every reason to retaliate, and heaven took note. Now, they'll have no choice but to acknowledge what they never saw coming. The one they ignored is now shining with undeniable favor. The one they doubted is now delivering impact. The one they laughed at is now leading in grace. And they'll be forced to reckon with this truth. God was with you the entire time. But here's the key. This vindication isn't about them. It's about God's glory being revealed through your life. When God elevates you in front of those who misread your story, it's not to shame them. It's to correct the narrative, to show the difference between man's opinion and God's intention, to reveal that what heaven chooses, no human hand can cancel. You're not being showcased for revenge. You're being revealed for purpose. The very people who thought nothing would ever come of you will be standing in rooms they never imagined, watching you walk in a fullness they never believed. And in that moment, they won't just see you. They'll see the fingerprints of God all over your life. This is what divine vindication looks like. Not arrogance, not revenge, not "I told you so," but a quiet rise that speaks louder than any argument could. It's the still strength of a life molded by obedience, a vessel that didn't quit, a soul that didn't bend. So don't be surprised when they come back around, confused, convicted, or even curious. Some will apologize. Chapter 5. When the table is set, the doors open themselves. Chosen one, you've been conditioned to think that everything good must come through striving, through effort, through proving yourself, through constantly knocking and never being answered. But in this next season, God is shifting the script. You won't have to beg for what already belongs to you. You won't have to chase what's been divinely assigned to your life. When God sets the table, the doors don't just open, they recognize you. You won't have to send out 1,000 resumes or pitch your value to people who can't see it. In fact, you'll be invited into places you never applied to. Your name will come up in conversations you weren't even present for. People will recommend you who have never met you in person because your obedience has already sent out a signal. Your anointing has already gone ahead of you. You see, this is what divine alignment does. It causes preparation to collide with opportunity, without force or manipulation. God is not asking you to kick down the door. He's already written your name on the guest list. The doors that open for you now will not require you to shrink, perform, or compromise your authenticity. They will be tailor-made for the version of you that was refined in the wilderness. In this season, you will find that divine ease replaces former striving. The struggle you once endured to prove your worth will be replaced by favor that speaks louder than credentials. Not because you're lucky, but because God has gone ahead of you. He's spoken your name in rooms your feet haven't entered yet. He's placed your work, your spirit, your legacy in the hearts of people who hold the keys. It will feel surreal at times. Doors that were once locked will open without effort. Places you were once rejected by will now request your presence. Opportunities will chase you down, not because of who you know, but because of who you are in the Spirit. That's what happens when the table is set by the hands of heaven. And here's the beautiful part. This time, the doors will open not just for you, but because of you. Your presence will be the access point for others. Your life will become the key that unlocks legacy, healing, and purpose for those connected to you. God is not just opening doors for convenience. He's opening them for calling. And they're opening now because you're ready. Ready in heart. Ready in posture. Ready in purpose. This version of you has been seasoned, sharpened, and spiritually matured. You're no longer walking into rooms hoping they accept you. You're walking in knowing you're assigned there. So let go of the striving. Release the desperation. You don't have to manufacture favor when you're already marked by it. When the table is truly set by God, you don't push your way in. You're positioned by grace. And every door that opens will be a reflection of what's already been established in heaven. You won't be forcing it. You'll just be walking in it. Chapter 6. Don't shrink when God finally calls you forward. Chosen one, after spending so long in the shadows, it can be hard to recognize when it's your time to rise. After seasons of silence, solitude, and spiritual stretching, the spotlight can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But hear this clearly. Don't shrink now. You've been hidden, refined, and prepared. And now, heaven is calling you forward. This moment isn't about ego, it's about assignment. The doors opening for you are not random. They are the result of your obedience, your endurance, and your surrender. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation of everything God whispered to your spirit when no one else was listening. It's the manifestation of the prayers you prayed when you didn't even have the strength to speak. Yes, you've been hidden, but you've also been hardened in the fire. You've earned this moment in the Spirit, and that means you don't need to justify your elevation. You don't need to make yourself small so others feel comfortable. You don't need to downplay what God has done just to keep the peace. Favor isn't arrogant, it's alignment. This is not the season to apologize for being called. It's not the time to dim your light so others don't feel exposed. You didn't skip steps. You didn't fake your process. You walked through the wilderness, passed the test, and honored the process. You've cried in silence, grown in secret, and now it's time to stand in what God has placed on your life. Unapologetically. Walk through these doors with confidence, not arrogance, with humility, but not hesitation. You're not being called forward because you're perfect. You're being called forward because you're ready. Ready in spirit, ready in maturity, ready in purpose. The light is not about you. It's about the God who placed it in you. The platform is not for performance, it's for purpose. The table is not just for your enjoyment, it's for kingdom impact. What God is doing in your life right now is bigger than influence. It's about assignment. It's about being the answer to someone else's prayer. It's about being a vessel of healing, leadership, and light in spaces that have grown dark. So don't doubt what God has already confirmed. Don't second-guess what He has already anointed. Don't hide now that you're needed. And don't silence yourself when your voice has been divinely timed for this very moment. Chosen one, when God finally calls you forward, step boldly, stand tall, serve faithfully, shine fully, and most of all, stay surrendered. Because your rising is not just for recognition, it's for divine representation. You're not just being seen, you're being sent. Chapter 7. This is only the beginning. Stay ready. Chosen one, hear this clearly in your spirit. You've stepped into something divine. But this is not the end. This is only the beginning. The table is set. The doors are open. The visibility has come. But the journey that lies ahead will require just as much surrender, if not more, than the hidden years that brought you here. You've been through a long season of refinement, but now the reward has begun to manifest. What you're stepping into now is not simply compensation, it's activation. You are entering a realm of purpose, influence, and alignment that has generational implications. The seat at the table is not just a sign of elevation, it's a sign of deployment. You are being sent, not just seen. This season is both your reward and your responsibility. Yes, the recognition may feel sweet. Yes, the favor is real. Yes, the influence is increasing. But don't let the visibility distract you from the voice that got you here. God is not done speaking just because you've been called forward. If anything, the instructions will become more precise and the obedience more urgent. Do not become complacent at the table. Just because the door opened doesn't mean your assignment is complete. It means your real work has now begun. You are now walking in front of eyes that didn't see your process. And you must be able to carry power without pride. You must be able to move in rooms without losing your reverence, because elevation without humility becomes a trap, and exposure without grounding becomes an idol. You didn't get here by chance. You didn't rise by talent alone. You arrived by fire, by fasting, by tears, by silence, by unseen labor in the spirit. Let that sacred process keep your heart clean and your motives pure. Remember the wilderness that trained you. Remember the nights you questioned everything, and God still whispered, "Keep going." Remember the betrayals that didn't break you, the isolation that birthed revelation, the delay that preserved your soul. This table you now sit at is not just about your success. It's about God's strategy. You are being placed in this moment to make impact, to speak truth, to shift atmospheres, to unlock destinies in others. You're not just seated, you're stationed, not just elevated, entrusted. Stay prayed up, stay sensitive, stay grounded in the Word. You will be presented with opportunities that look good, but not every good thing is a God thing. You must walk in discernment like never before, because new levels don't just attract new blessings, they also attract new attacks, and the same enemy who couldn't stop your rise will now try to distract you from your mission. But here's the good news. The same God who hid you is the same God who will now hold you. The same grace that preserved you in the cave will preserve you in the crowd. The same angels that stood watch over your silence will now guard your platform. You are not rising alone. Heaven is rising with you. Guard your heart. Don't chase applause. Don't chase numbers. Don't chase comparison. Stay anchored in your anointing. Because what God is doing in your life is not common. It's consecrated. And the cost of carrying something holy is never low. You are rising, but stay small in spirit. You are being seen, but stay hidden in God. You are gaining influence, but stay hungry for intimacy. Because the goal is not just to arrive, it's to endure. Not just to shine, but to serve. Not just to be great, but to be faithful. So remember this. The table is not the end, it's the entrance. And what's ahead will require everything you've learned in the hidden years. The stillness, the obedience, the patience, the spiritual muscle. You'll need them all. This is only the beginning. More is coming. Greater is coming. Wider impact. Deeper revelation. Heavier assignments. But if you stay ready, stay pure, stay focused, you will not only rise, you will reign, righteously, not for your own glory, but so that the name of God would be made great through your life. The table is set. The call has come. Heaven is watching. And you, chosen one, you are ready. Chosen one, now you understand. Your hidden season wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. God wasn't late. He was precise. And now, as the table is revealed, your assignment begins. Walk boldly, love deeply, serve faithfully, and never forget, the God who set the table is the same one who anointed you to sit at it.